up the embankment, flies, launches. It was like slow-mo, Dukes of Hazzard, car flying through the air. Yeah, so I believe it was 2009, very early in my career as a police officer. I actually started in 2006. There was this, it's probably my favorite car chase story that I've ever been involved with. And it was because of the circumstances of the whole event. It was like 2 a.m. in the middle of Alpharetta, right? It was a misty night. It wasn't full out downpour, but it was wet. Not enough for a bald guy to really care, right? So I'm willing to get out. But I saw this one car on the road, and it was this blue, brand new Corvette, had a drive-out tag on the back, extremely shiny. I think you could still see the glue from where the sticker was on the side window. And he was going southbound on Georgia 400, approaching Haynesbridge Road. I pull in behind the vehicle, and it starts bumping the line a few times. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something here, but at the same time, it's wet outside. I'm not sure if I really want to get my whole uniform wet. He continually does it. He drifts kind of far over, makes a quick correction. So it's one of those that you could tell that he wasn't necessarily all there as he was driving. So I hit my lights, and he starts slowing, and we're approaching Haynesbridge Road. As you're going southbound on Haynesbridge Road, to exit onto Haynesbridge Road, it has one of those 360 exits. So it's not just a gradual turn off to the right. It does that whole 360. And so he's slowing for the curb. And I'm like, he's going to pull over, probably looking for a place to pull over, because on the 360, it's not a good place. So we'll go to the top of the ramp, cross over the bridge that goes back over 400, and find a place to stop. As soon as we start hitting the straightaway, he punches it. Pursuit policy, from the beginning, they always teach you, does the risk that the bad guy poses outweigh the threat that it poses to the public safety in general, right? So that's always what you had to weigh. And back then, that was our pursuit policy, is basically you could pursue for anything, but does the need to apprehend outweigh the threat that they possibly pose, right? And so in my mind, this guy is possibly intoxicated, could cause an accident based on the way that he was driving. But even that, if he had gone straight on Haynesbridge, it was one that I was going to cancel myself. I can't keep up the performance of my vehicle, the weather conditions, traffic at the time, which there was no traffic at the time. So, but you're considering all those things and really trying to figure out, is it worth it? So that was our policy back then. Now it's much different, right? It's basically crimes against person, 7 deadly sins: murder, rape, kidnapping, those types of things. Those are the things that we can pursue for, with some special circumstances that are thrown in there as well. But always, it comes back to anything that we do is, are you making wise decisions? He's in a brand new Corvette. I'm in a Chevy Impala. Really not fit to handle or pursue a Chevy Corvette in these conditions. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to cancel this. There's no way that I'm gonna be able to go after this guy. And so if he goes straight on Haynesbridge, but he does something, he takes a right onto North Point Drive. And if you're familiar with the area, which I am because I work here, that goes towards the mall. And I'm like, maybe he's trying to lose me in the parking lot of the mall or something like that. So I go ahead and make the turn, and then I see him absolutely punch it on North Point Drive. And I'm like, he has no clue where he is, because North Point Drive ends in a T intersection into North Point Circle in about a quarter of a mile. And this guy is probably approaching over 100 miles per hour on a very short street. And so I tell Radio, I'm like, he's pulling away from me, but he's about to wreck. And so I am cautiously approaching where he was headed. And right when I see, it was incredible. I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard, big fan of the show. This was the first time I have seen anything that even resembled Dukes of Hazzard in my career as a police officer. Most of the time, cars, there's a lot of debris, not that exciting. Even if someone, like if you go over like railroad tracks fast, you do a lot of damage to the car. It's not that cool. This guy was flying there's an embankment right at the end of North Point Drive that goes into North Point Circle. There's a big mall sign that has which way to go to which stores. Macy's this way, Dillard's this way, Sears. He goes straight through the sign, up the embankment, flies, launches. It was like slow-mo, Dukes of Hazzard, car flying through the air. As I'm pulling up, the car lands, and this is where it's different than Dukes of Hazzard. The car immediately like starts smoking and flames come out of the hood, and I'm now pulling around to where he is, expecting for this just to go horrible, right? That there could be a foot chase that ensues. There could be possibly a fight. Like this could be really bad because the guy already made the decision to run from the police. And so I'm pulling around. I'm jumping out of my car. The guy jumps out of his car immediately, and he throws his arms up and he goes, "I'm sorry, I'm drunk." I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, well, get away from the car, because I didn't want him to catch on fire. I noticed another detail. Not only was this a brand new Corvette with a sticker glue still on the side, drive-out tag on the back, I also noticed that he had brand new Callaway clubs in the back of his Corvette as well, which was just adding insult to injury. The best part of this whole story, though, is because now I'm trying to figure out, I was a relatively new police officer that when this happened, like 3 or 4 years into my career, and I'm trying to figure out all the paperwork that I have to do. I have a pursuit that I have to fill out. I have to fill out a traffic accident because of what he did. I assume because he told me now that his manifestations of how he is driving and his spontaneous utterance that he was intoxicated, that now I have a DUI, which is extremely involved. So I have that paperwork, which he did make it a little more simplified with his statements and driving and actions. So yeah, there's a mountain of paperwork, a litany of things that I have to do. But a DUI unit pulls up right when the guy jumps out, says I'm drunk, and he goes, "Hey, I'll take this." I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got it." I'm like, "This is amazing. I don't have to do anything." So it was turned over to, end of story. Unfortunately, the fire department did not get in there in time to mitigate the amount of damage that was done to the car. So I don't think it was drivable again. I'm sure he took quite a hit on that brand new Corvette. My favorite part, not my favorite part, I think the guy jumping out. Actually, probably the guy showing up and saying, "I'll take everything," was my favorite part. I don't know. But that sign at the mall, and if you're familiar, it's the north side of North Point Mall in Alpharetta. That sign just got replaced like 3 years ago. And so literally for 12 years, there was no sign on the north side of North Point Circle telling you which stores to go to. And I knew that was because of the Chevy Corvette flying through it. I used to, especially when my kids were growing up, I used to take my middle kid, Caden, who's now 15. I take him to the mall and we go play in the little play place and go get, cookies or whatever and hang out in the mall on days that I was off. Mom's working, and so this is something fun that we could do. And it was a badge of honor was when I saw still no sign, still no sign, still no sign. So that lasted for about 10 years.
We love the team at Patrick Adair Designs because they make rings and other jewelry out of some of the most amazing and interesting materials on Earth, and even occasionally from space. But they've honestly outdone themselves with their latest creation. They have made a series of rings using the aluminum that they cut out of an OEM wheel for a Bugatti Veyron. Obviously, I love the Bugatti Veyron, maybe one day, I hope. But they've also used forged carbon fiber, gold, and platinum to accent the rings however you want them. And honestly, as cool as the rings are, I think I like the case they come in even better. They have replicated the W16 engine on the top out of sterling silver. It's a cherry wood box with like carbon fiber and titanium screws. Super duper cool. So check it out now at the link in the description below to get yourself a super cool ring from a great company, Patrick Adair Designs. And if you order now during the month of July, you'll also get free at checkout either a carbon fiber ring or a tungsten pendant. So they've been a great supporter of VinWiki all these years, and they've created an awesome product here. So check it out now at the link in the description below.